Nevada County attracts so many people of so many different walks of life because of the land, because of the natural space, because of the beauty of this area. You walk out your front door and you're in the forest.
The produce that we're working so hard to grow is going right into these boxes that are being consumed by families and individuals that very week, and it's a guarantee for everybody.
What do we really want as a society? You know, do we want it all to look like Sacramento? It's not what I want.
Like, so when we're putting in a trail project, thinking about how can we make this accessible to the most amount of people possible for free, you know?
It can be challenging, but luckily we're creative, innovative people as humans, and we're able to build things and work with nature in a way to make it possible. We just have to plan ahead so that we build it in from the get-go and make things more universally designed.
It provides them a place to recreate recreation or to recreate oneself.
Anytime something's put into conservation is the right thing to do.
And now it's time to restore it. This is the age of restoration. It's a resource for our community to get healthier. It's like a land doctor.
I do the work that I do with the Land Trust because it feeds my heart. It's what gives me hope. It gives me hope that I can make a difference, to create a lasting legacy, to preserve these wonderful, beautiful spaces, our natural spaces, as well as our agricultural spaces here in our community.
We're a local nonprofit organization that has been around for 30 years with a mission to protect and defend the natural and working lands of the Bear and Yuba River watersheds. We do this through providing access to nature, providing education, and through protecting the lands that we all love. So to date, we've protected over 15,000 acres of land with conservation easements. And we also own land outright. We have about 4,000 acres of land spread across 9 different nature preserves. Most of these areas are open to the public with trail systems and parking areas, welcoming the public in to connect with nature. And we also have areas that we protect just for wildlife. These are wilderness areas where people don't go. And this is important because wildlife also needs a place to survive and thrive.
Early in 2020, we heard about the fact that the land that Mountain Bounty is on, the lease was terminating and the land was probably going to be sold.
I know what that feels like to move, to try to build the soil and build fences and all that kind of stuff. You invest a lot and then to have to start over again. Maybe we would move out of Nevada County if we were to lose this place.
We came together and said, what is a model that we can put together to protect this land?
Our whole mission has been to serve the community with this produce. If we can't afford to buy this, or if it would be this huge debt burden for us to own this, then why not have the community own it instead?
We put together the Forever Farms project with the intention of purchasing the land and then putting in place a long-term, what we call an evergreen lease, so Mountain Bounty could plan for the future and continue to have that land be farmland into perpetuity.
Yeah, there's this piece of resiliency that wasn't there before that allows us to, again, like dream like for myself and then beyond myself too. It will continue to be passed on through farmers.
What happened was amazing. It was clearly a project that wanted to happen. Within 6 months, we raised $800,000 to purchase that land, to protect it, and to launch what we're calling the Forever Farms project, so that we can look for future land to also protect for farming, to ensure sustainable food for our community.
Yeah, we need 50 of these.
Exactly.
We'd like to see this Forever Farms program and farms like ours proliferate in our community and beyond, and perhaps find ways that every town can have a satellite of farms around it serving it like this.
Land trusts are going to be instrumental in maintaining that we do have property for agriculture, for open space. My family and I ranch here in Nevada County. I think that ranching, if we do it right, I think we're working with nature. The fight that we have in agriculture and in ranching in California is that we're fighting against development and against rising land values that are putting productive agricultural land into houses that will probably never be back in agriculture. We are tenants on a privately held piece of property that has a conservation easement through the Bear Yuba Land Trust on it. It's been a good opportunity for us to be out there and to know that the ground that we live on and ranch on won't be developed. If a rancher or somebody is a private landowner that wanted to see that land preserved for the future, or they wanted to know that it was going to be in agriculture in the future, and a conservation easement is a good way for somebody to know that when they pass, that their ground isn't going to be developed. If we didn't have land trusts or conservation easements in California, all of our ground would be developed into houses. Conservation easements allow us to preserve some local food production. If we were just looking at pure economics, all of our food production would be outsourced to China or somewhere that maybe we don't want our food being made.
You know, we came here in the wagon train in 1871, and there are days when you can see a couple of baldies fishing this hole right here. And there's a golden eagle here that's probably 8 feet tip to tip. If this is what we want, then this is what it's going to have to look like. We got resident bear here, resident lion. If we as a society really want these animals, places like this are imperative, where it's public benefit without any public access. You know, you get people out here, those animals aren't going to be here. And that's just the way it is, and that's the way you got to look at it. If we really want this in our society, then places like this have got to be set aside and everybody stays the hell out, except the people that absolutely got to be there. The way it is kept that way is unfortunate, but again, it's public benefit without public access. And that's one of the reasons that they got me here, because I'm pretty good at keeping people out of here. This outfit here is an avenue to keep this alive for as long as we have law in America. It's that simple. Yeah.
The most rewarding part about my job is collaborating with biologists and working for years on a project, and then getting to come out here and see that project in action, the things that we've discussed unfold on the ground, and get to see native species rebound and controlling invasives and bird populations exploding. That's the really rewarding part of my job. We look at things like endangered species habitat and rare plants, and go out every year during our annual monitoring to look at these populations and take photos in the same locations to track those over time and make sure that the values aren't changing. We also go in and do active restoration at some of our sites when we do see that things are in decline. When we first started managing this site about 2 years ago, It was covered in Himalayan blackberry, and as you can see, we've done a lot of work, and the native species are starting to rebound. And this winter and spring, we're going to come back with 1,500 riparian plants and plant them within this restoration area to keep perpetuating restoration along Little Wolf Creek. We're starting to use technologies like remote satellite imagery, horseback, plane rides, really any technology that we come across to really better steward our lands and pick up issues that maybe we don't see every year. We've conserved and managed land in a variety of landscapes from 300 feet in elevation, like Garden Bar Preserve that we're at right now is our lowest site, to Grouse Ridge Wilderness around Bowman Lake Road at 8,000 feet in elevation. And each site comes with its own suite of management strategies. It's not just about our preserves that we own, it's about managing this entire landscape, which includes private land ownership as well.
Restoring a forest is a 200-year proposal. We wanted to do a small part to preserve open space ourselves, and try to do, at the same time, restore forest. Conservation easement is basically giving up the rights to development. Bear Yuba Land Trust facilitates, they make it possible. I don't have them, I can't conserve it. So it's just 2 parcels that the next person, whether it's someone my daughters sell to when I'm gone, puts another house on. And then, 50 years from now, we're down to 20-acre parcels and there's 2 more houses. And then another 100 years from now, we're down to our little 5-acre parcels and there's 20 houses on this place. And how many bears are going to live on 100 acres with 20 houses? With no big trees. And if you multiply that all through the forest, you got a really radically changed ecosystem. So it really leaves 103 acres that you can't build on. And if a whole lot of people did that, we'd start to move toward healthier forests up here. So I'm only one person, but I can do that. We don't keep anything, I'm becoming more kind of aware of that as I'm getting in my mid-60s. None of this is mine. I'm a temporary steward of this. I'm going to pass it on.
Hamakani, Homoya Bemi, Nishanana Memewakamni, Lidum Lily Yapemni, Ustama Hedidi. Hi, I'm Shelly Covert, and I am the spokesperson for the Nevada City Rancheria NISENAN tribe. I'm also the executive director of our nonprofit, CHIRP, which is the California Heritage Indigenous Research Project. And to describe my connection to these lands, our tribe was here for thousands of years before the coming of the gold rush and the discovery of gold in our waterways. And that's countless generations of people, families, ways of life and society that were formed over that time. And in the forming of my tribal people and our community, our government, our religious interactions and what we did, it's all based in the connection with the land, with the earth, with the water, with the animals, and everything that makes this place what it is. It's hard, especially when I was younger, to be an erased person. Like you can't find yourself anywhere. And there's many levels to that. But the one thing, and it's so funny that when I realized this, we have one word. We have the Yuba River, which is the NISENAN word, Uba. Said as Americans, English people say it, Yuba. So that exists. We all know that word. We all know one NISENAN word. That's awesome. And while people don't necessarily even know the word NISENAN because we've been called Maidu incorrectly for so long, but that one word its existence even, were not fully erased, because that has always been there. This connection is deep, and it's a responsibility. I wish I could share that. I wish I could, you know, jack somebody into my head and my heart and just download it for you. So here, you take some of that feeling now, because it's a lot. And I think we all need to commit to the land where we live, know the history of that land, the history of the people who were here before, the relationships that were built over all those thousands of generations, and take some responsibility and start pulling us back from the edge.
In recent years, the Land Trust has started to partner with the NISENAN on interpretive signage on our preserves and by naming trails and preserves in their language. We feel like this is just the beginning. Our ultimate goal is to work with the NISENAN to get land back into their hands.
What's so important about this area that we're floating over right now is this is a salmon red right here. If you look at it, the size of the rock will tell you that female salmon were in here last fall, and they were working really hard to create a place to lay all their eggs, which they did. The reason that I was drawn to the Land Trust is because I was a wildlife biologist working on federal lands for a long time. And then I started working more closely with state and federal agencies to think about how to conserve plants and animals across larger areas. And we found that one of the missing links in all of our work was private land. And I was aware that land trusts were doing what land trusts do, but I never realized how good it's done, and especially how good it's being done here in the Bear Yuba until I took a closer look. And being a landscape-focused ecologist for a lot of years, I think the thing that I see opportunity to do here is to help bring the private land picture into a larger conservation strategy that's increasingly getting better across state and federal lands. So we're out here doing that today.
At our programs, nature is the teacher. And the kids, we like, let's just say we put them out on an observation exercise, and then they're observing. So they're coming up with things that we can't teach them, actually. Nature's gonna directly teach them, and we're creating a space for that. It started with collaboration with the Bear Yuba Land Trust. And thankfully for them, Miss Burton, who lived here, donated the land, and then we kind of started coming here. And then now we have also the Sierra Harvest does their garden classes here. And so it's really become a place of where kids get educated. And it's so important these days of how they can become stewards of the land. We want to share with them how to live here, how to make it so they feel safe. It's like their home, like how to build that shelter, how to make a fire. So they could be anywhere, they could be in the woods, and they feel comfortable there at home. And when they do that, when they grow up like that, then they have an understanding of how to take care of the land. They realize what the land needs. And so then it can be kept protected, so it can be taken care of. Our organization now kind of helps hold this place as caretakers. And there's a public trail, so people could come here, they can walk their dogs, they can enjoy the nature, and really grateful for the Land Trust that what they can do to conserve land. And this is a special piece, like not too far from the neighborhood, where parents could come and creating like an educational like legacy of a preserve. So yeah, it is a really special place, I have to say.
these open spaces and trails help people in so many different ways. And it's great to be a part of providing those places for people to go. So yeah, and we're really blessed here in Nevada County to have a lot of trails and a lot of open space to explore. So I'm very, very thankful for that. And it really is amazing what the volunteers can do and what we can do with some grant funding and, you know, some know-how and some fruit at the work parties. But no, it's a huge sense of meaning, and the trail work is a huge sense of accomplishment, or, you know, or closing on a property, or, you know, getting a conservation easement and just knowing that this land is going to be open space in perpetuity. And I kind of say it in jest with the volunteers, but I make jokes, hey, come back in 100 years, you know, see the trail you built, you know. But it really is cool to think about that this work is for generations in the future.
I discovered that there are these great trail networks I never even really knew about growing up. For instance, this one, the Orlean-Weatherall Trail, and the Woodpecker Preserve, as we call it. We come out here all the time. It keeps us healthy and safe and sane, and I need nature to feel good in my body and my heart and my mind. And so we come out here regularly for walks as often as we can and have all kinds of adventures, and we're just very grateful to the Land Trust.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing about some of these trails locally, is that they can be accessible for the whole family, right? So whether you use a wheelchair, kids, strollers, if we're older, not able to get around as well. And so Freed and Bear Yuba Land Trust have really worked together, I think, towards really supporting people throughout their lifespan, right? And to make sure that we make the outdoors accessible to everyone.
I feel so lucky living where I live here in Nevada City, because I can walk to all these trails, the Tribute Trail, the Hirschman's Pond Trail, soon the Sugarloaf Trail. I don't even have to get in a car to get to these trails. What more could you want in your neighborhood? We enjoy these trails today because of the generous donations of both time and money of those who came before us. We want to not only maintain these trails, but also grow them. And that takes an ongoing community effort and financial contributions to do that. At the Land Trust, we really depend on the support of the community. We depend on community members as volunteers, as trail builders, as donations. And in fact, the only thing that really limits what we can do is money and volunteers. So it is absolutely critical that we are working closely with the local community.
Nature needs a louder voice, and that is why I invite you to please join us in our mission today. Become a member, consider putting us in your will, or come volunteer with us. The work is urgent and it's very rewarding. Together, we can create a lasting legacy for our community, for our children, for our grandchildren, and for many generations to come. Thank you.